You've probably heard the phrase, take massive action. I mean, it is the slogan of modern success. Work harder, faster, never stop. But here's the truth. Massive action is useless unless it's aligned. Now, you can work 12 hours a day chasing a goal that your inner state doesn't support. And all that effort just amplifies resistance, because action alone doesn't create reality. Action is how reality completes itself through you. Now, if you've been following my video series so far, you will know that we've already covered the first 3 laws of manifestation mechanics, which is state, imagination, and emotion. And each one builds upon the last, forming a living system of creation that works when they operate together. And if this is the first video that you've come across, I encourage you to go back and watch them in order from the very beginning, because every lesson was built intentionally, step by step, to show you how reality is actually constructed. Not through blind belief or constant effort, but through coherence. When you watch from the first video onwards, you will just see and feel and know how it all connects. My name is Dejorn Goldsmith, and I created manifestation mechanics because I was tired of watching people fail. And it wasn't because they lacked faith, but because the teachings that they were following, they were incomplete. Everywhere you look, someone's telling you to just think positive, to say your affirmations, or pretend that you're rich. But you already know that that doesn't work. You've tried it. You've seen people that you care about try it as well. Repeating words, clinging on to hope, and still they are struggling in life. And deep down, I know that you felt that truth. You felt that there is something missing. And it's something that the world just keeps overlooking. Now, when I became seriously ill with cancer in 2023, that truth hit me. It harder than ever. And I was told I'd left it too late to agree to treatment. But I knew if manifestation was real, then it had to work when it mattered most, not just when life was easy. So I made a decision. I was going to find out what really governs creation, not theory, not wishful thinking, the truth. And I spent every day researching, testing, reflecting, observing. And I studied ancient Vedantic texts, the words of teachers like Neville Goddard, and the patterns that are hidden within consciousness itself. And somewhere in the middle of the fight for my life, I discovered the mechanics, the precise way that reality responds to alignment. And by July 2024, I was declared cancer-free. And today, I'm here. I'm alive, healthy, and I am more certain than ever that manifestation is not magic. It's method. And that's why I'm making this series. Not to sell hope, but to hand back truth. Because when you understand how manifestation really works, it just stops being something that you chase and it becomes something that you live. So this lesson, the law of action, is the bridge between the inner world and the outer world. It's where what you've imagined, what you've felt, and what you've stabilized finally begins to move through you. We will explore why some actions feel effortless and others drain you. And we'll look at how the universe expresses through movement. And we'll uncover how to recognize the impulse of aligned action, the kind that feels calm, certain, and natural. Because when you understand action through the lens of manifestation mechanics, you'll see it isn't forcing life to move. It's life moving through you. Most people are taught that manifestation is a thought plus effort process. Think the thought, then work as hard as you can to make it real. And then while that does seem logical, you set goals, you grind. But what most people never realized is that the unaligned action doesn't create, it just scatters. The world glorifies busyness. It tells you that momentum equals progression, that exhaustion equals purpose. But most of what people call action is actually reaction movement. It's born out of fear, lack, or impatience. And you can see it everywhere. People take action because they're scared of standing still. People, they post because they're scared of being forgotten. And they spend money because they're scared of missing out. They rush relationships. They rush business. They rush decisions, not from alignment, but from anxiety. And then they wonder why things don't hold together, why results fall apart just as fast as they appear. Because fear-based action sends a fragmented signal into the universe, the field. It says, I don't trust. And the universe, the field, it always mirrors that signal. So what happens? They keep working harder, thinking that the next action that they do will fix it. But more effort doesn't fix dissonance. It amplifies it. And that's why so many people burn out. They're not moving in the wrong direction. They're moving with the wrong vibration. Action without coherence is noise. It looks productive, but it builds nothing. And you've probably felt this before. You start something, maybe a project, a goal, a business idea, and it feels heavy from day one. And every step just feels forced. There's a resistance in everything that you're doing. That's not because you're lazy or unmotivated. It's because the energy behind the action is misaligned. Manifestation can't unfold through tension. Creation requires flow, and it begins with coherence. When the field within you is split, part one, wanting, and part two, doubting, your actions they carry both signals. And the result is mixed outcomes, half success and, well, constant fatigue. And that's why manifestation mechanics teaches that action isn't the first step of creation. It's the last. It's the natural movement that occurs once your internal alignment is complete. When your state is coherent, your imagination is clear, and your emotion is stable, then action arises on its own. You don't have to force yourself to do. You want to. The movement just feels obvious, simple, even exciting, because it's the field that's using you as an instrument. And this is where most manifestation teachings just fall short. They tell you to visualize, to affirm, to believe, but they never explain how those internal states become external motion. They assume that the action is a choice, when in truth it's just a byproduct. Unaligned action is driven by control. Aligned action is driven by flow. And the difference between the two is purely and simply the energy behind them. When you move from fear, you're trying to escape reality. When you move from alignment, you're expanding it. You can feel the difference straight away. One feels tight and the other feels open. One drains you and the other charges you. Aligned action has no tension. It carries clarity. It's a whisper that says, go now. And when you follow that whisper, reality just rearranges effortlessly. And the moment that you understand that, you stop chasing movement and you start waiting for the moment when that movement calls you. Intuition. Because manifestation doesn't need pressure. It just needs precision. And precision only comes when emotion, imagination, and state have finished forming the pattern. And action is the release of that completed pattern into the world. So before you act, ask yourself, am I moving from trust or from fear? And that one question will tell you everything. So let's look at what really happens when action is aligned, when your state and imagination are coherent. There's just like this natural build-up of energy in the field, and you can feel it. That quiet sense of readiness. The inner nudge says, now, it's time. And that nudge isn't just a thought. It's the field looking for expression. And because your body exists at the meeting point of your consciousness and matter, you become the instrument that expression it flows through. In manifestation mechanics, this is where consciousness crosses the threshold from energy into event, from invisible into physical. Action, the doing, is the bridge that completes that transfer. I say this often, but imagine it like an electrical circuit. State is the foundation, the stable voltage that keeps everything grounded. Imagination is the design. It's the circuit board. It's shaping where the energy will flow. And emotion, that's the current, the electricity that starts to move through the design. And then action, the doing, that's the final connection that allows the current to just light the world around you. Without that connection, the current just circulates within you. You feel inspired, clear, maybe even excited, but nothing changes out there. The design has been complete, but it hasn't been grounded yet. Action is the grounding wire, if you like. And when action is aligned, it feels clean, not rushed, not forced, not second guessed. You might even notice it looks small from the outside, but it moves massive energy. And that's because aligned action carries the full coherence of your inner system. It's not about quantity. It's about charge. One small action from alignment carries more power than 100 frantic efforts that are powered by fear. Think of it. Think of it like this. When a river meets no resistance, it doesn't need to rush. It just flows naturally. The flow of water, it doesn't try. It just moves because the path is clear. That's like aligned action. But the moment that you start doubting, rushing or forcing, you're building dams in that flow. The energy still wants to move, but now it's hitting resistance. That resistance is what we call friction. And friction is the destroyer of momentum. Aligned action feels like the opposite of friction. It just feels like the universe is moving through you. Everything's going right. It often comes sometimes as a gentle impulse, not loud, not dramatic, but precise. You'll hear it in your intuition. That small voice that says, call that person, or write that message. Start now. And when you listen to it without questioning it, things begin to just align so quickly and sometimes immediately. And that's because the field needs physical anchors. Energy needs expression. And when you take that one aligned step. You become the anchor through which reality begins to organize. And this is what most people miss. Action doesn't cause manifestation. It completes it. The moment that you act from coherence, the manifestation collapses from potential into actual form. And that's why waiting for the perfect moment doesn't work. The perfect moment is the one where the impulse feels calm and clear. And it is rarely dramatic. It's also rarely convenient. But when that inner knowing appears, that's the field, the universe saying move. And when you do, everything else starts to move with you. The more coherent that your state is, the faster that flow just happens. The more resistance that you carry, the slower it feels. And this is what's incredible, is even delayed manifestation is still manifestation. The energy always will find expression. When you clear resistance, the flow returns instantly. And what once seemed stuck just suddenly unfolds. And this is why I always tell people, you don't need to control the outcome. You just need to stay connected to the current. Action is just simply the body's participation in consciousness. It's not you versus the world. It's the world expressing through you. And when you start to live this way, life stops feeling like a struggle. You stop asking, what should I do next? Because the next step just always reveals itself. You begin to feel guided, not by chance, but by coherence. That's the law of action. It's not effort, it's allowance. It's the smooth handover of energy from the unseen to the seen. And then once you understand that, you'll realize that manifestation was never about trying. It was always about remembering how to move in rhythm with reality. Aligned action doesn't shout. It whispers. It's the quiet pull towards movement that feels just so natural, almost obvious. You don't need to convince yourself to do it. You just, you feel it's right. It's the right time. But here's the problem that most people face, is they don't trust that whisper. They second guess it. They wait for absolute proof before moving. They'll tell themselves that they will act when they are ready, not realizing that the readiness is born through action. So, how do you know when an impulse is aligned? It's simple. Aligned impulses, they feel clear and calm. They don't carry urgency. They don't come from fear, and they They never ask you to sacrifice your peace. The moment that you feel pressure, that anxious voice that says, if I don't do this now, I'm going to miss my chance. That's not alignment. That's fear. Fear creates urgency. And alignment carries a clarity with it. When action is aligned, there's a softness to it. You can feel movement inside before it happens outside. It feels peaceful but strong, like a tide just pulling you forward, and not a wave crashing over you either. That's your signal. That's the universe moving through you. And once you sense it, you act. Don't overthink it. Don't ask for guarantees, because by the time the impulse arises, the energy is already built, and your only job is now to give it form, to move, to do. And yes, it might feel small. It might look insignificant. And maybe it is just sending a message. Maybe it's cleaning your workspace. Maybe it's writing down an idea, but every aligned action can carry massive coherence. And the moment that you follow it, the field and the universe responds. And this is why timing in manifestation just so often seems or looks magical. It's not. And it's not coincidence. It's synchronization. The moment that you move in flow, you're meeting the field exactly where it's ready to meet you. You've probably experienced this before. You've had a strong urge to do something simple. And within hours or days, something perfect aligned. And you said, I can't believe the timing. That's not luck. That is coherence in motion. When you start trusting those signals, you realize you're not making life happen. You're dancing. You're dancing with it. And that's when things really begin to accelerate. But here's what's important. Aligned action still requires presence. You can't follow your intuition if your mind is full of noise. And that's why the earlier lessons, my earlier videos, state, imagination, emotion. They are so essential. They quiet the noise. They tune your instrument, and they make the signal clear. When your state is peaceful, you can hear the whisper. When your imagination is stable, you can see the direction. And when your emotion is coherent, you can feel the current. And then, and only then, can you move without resistance. Aligned action isn't about waiting for perfect conditions. It's about moving when the signal comes to you, even if your mind doesn't yet understand why. That's the essence of trust. And every time you follow it, the connection just grows stronger. And eventually you stop hesitating altogether. You don't need signs or confirmations. You just know. You feel reality pulling you forward, step by step. And with each aligned step, the path just lights up in front of you. Because the field doesn't show you the whole picture. It shows you what's next, the next movement. And if you trust that movement and do it, then the next one appears. And then the next after that. And that's how manifestation unfolds through action. Not as a leap, but as a series of coherent steps that guide you from idea to embodiment. Action, when it's aligned, never feels forced. It just feels right. It feels like the most natural thing in the world. And that's when you know you're no longer the one that's creating movement. You're the one that's being moved. So here's what it all comes down to. Action isn't about doing more. It's about doing what flows from truth. When your inner field is aligned, movement becomes effortless. And everything that you touch creates coherence. You don't need to force success. You don't need to chase outcomes. The moment that you act from a coherent state, reality just organizes itself around that vibration. The phone call, the opportunity, the coincidence, they're not random. They're reflections of your alignment. And that's why action isn't a strategy. It's a participation. It's the moment when the energy that you've cultivated begins to dance with the energy of the world. You begin to realize that there's no separation between inner and outer. There's just one continuous field expressing itself through you. When you move, the universe moves. When you pause, it pauses with you. When you trust it, it aligns. Every great shift in your life will happen this way. Not through willpower, but through willingness, through allowing the current to pass through without any distortion. And that's what I discovered during the most challenging chapter of my life. When I was facing cancer, I couldn't force healing. I couldn't think my way out of it. But I could align. I could act from coherence, choosing every day to eat clean, to rest, to trust the process, and to keep moving forward as if I'd already been given my health back. Those weren't desperate actions. They were coherent ones. They were extensions of belief and not resistance. And that's the difference between forcing and flowing. When your action reflects coherence, it becomes sacred. It becomes a declaration to the universe that says, I'm aligned with the reality that I seek. And the field always responds to that declaration. If you look back at your life, you will see this same pattern everywhere. Every major change began with a single movement. One decision, one phone call, one choice. And it didn't come from panic. It came from peace and calm. That's the law of action at work. It's not a demand for effort. It's an invitation to expression. And as you begin to live through this understanding, you'll notice that manifestation becomes less about chasing results and more about deep listening, hearing when life calls you to move and when it calls you to rest. The people that understand this, they move differently. They don't rush, they don't panic. They just move with precision, with calmness and confidence, because they know that that's what's meant for them. That it doesn't require any force. It just requires them to be ready. Readiness. So if you take anything from this, just let it be this. The universe doesn't reward those who act the most. It rewards those who act within its rhythm. When you master your state, when you refine your imagination, and then you align your emotion, and you follow the signal of coherent action, reality stops resisting you, because it's no longer something that's outside of you. It's something that you're co-creating in real time. That's when you'll feel it. It's the quiet hum moving through you and guiding each step. It's revealing the path. And it's not through control, but through connection. And from that place, every action that you take becomes sacred. A sacred motion, a physical effort or a physical representation of a spiritual truth, an echo of a spiritual truth. And when you act from that coherence, you're not trying to manifest. You're remembering that you already are. My name is Dejorn Goldsmith, and this is Manifestation Mechanics. I look forward to seeing you on the next video.